What3words continues to slay. The game we can give him no greater intro than to state his exact location. Please welcome at River Gladiator Lawn, it's Chris Sheldrick.
Good morning, Chris. Sorry about that. How are you?
Good morning, Chris. Very well, thanks. Very well. Great intro.
Thank you, Chris.
Well done.
Gladiator.
Don't know where you are with your What3words position, but feel free to stay there. Chris, congratulations. What an idea that was, wasn't it?
Yeah, thanks very much. Seems to have gone very well. Well, I mean, we had the idea in about 5 minutes, so it's kind of it's all gone well since then, I guess.
Tell us about that 5 minutes, those 5 minutes. Where were you? Was it a morning? Was it evening? What happened the night before? What was the sliding doors moment that made it happen? How easily could it have not happened? Who was around?
It could have very easily not happened because I just went to see my friend Mohan, who was a mathematician in Cambridge, and I didn't see him very often in those days, once a year. And we just went up. I just went up for dinner, and it was one of those things. I said to him, "God, he's like, how's life?" And I was like, "I'm in the music business, and it's just really annoying me that I've just done this gig, and all of the musicians couldn't find the right entrance to where we were trying to get to. And because anyone in the music business knows, you've always got to find the back entrance, not the front entrance to any venue." And I said I tried on my last gig giving GPS coordinates, the latitude and longitude, on the call sheet to all the musicians, and everyone was like, "What on earth is this? Why are you giving us geo coordinates? I play the bass guitar. What do I do with this?" And I said, if only there was some way of just getting this super easy, super simple. And within 30 seconds flat, Mohan just sort of said, "Well, why don't we make a sequence of a few words for every few meters on Earth? Wouldn't that be super simple?" And I was just like, that's mind-blowing, but surely you'd need quite a few words in the sequence. And he said, no, I think you could get around the whole world in 3 words. So we did the kind of back of the envelope maths within a couple of minutes.
So cool.
And before we knew it, we'd worked out there were 57 trillion 3-meter squares in the world, and there are about 57 trillion combinations of 3 words. And I just kind of looked at it and went, right, I'm leaving the music business and going to run with this. And he was like, well, that it's an interesting idea, but are you sure? And I was like, this is awesome, and let's go for it.
So he couldn't see the immediate genius of his own idea.
That's a very good way of putting it. I don't think he was just saying this is a very logical solution, and my
was
mind
he very calm about it?
Completely calm. He said we could do it for fun. Maybe in the summer, one Sunday, we could just kind of make a prototype.
Can
and
you
I was
imagine?
Like, I think we should drop everything right now, and absolutely go for it.
Is that your nature?
Yes, very impulsive. Has good and bad side effects, but quite impulsive. But I just thought, if this is something my bass players can get their head round, because bass players just cannot find gigs, and just thought. You got to run with
drummers.
It. Anyone with heavy equipment, basically a bass amplifier or drum, because what they'll do, they'll call you from the front door, right. Say, "Oh, Chris, you couldn't just give me a hand round with this stuff, could you?" So you're always like laden with all this gear. But where the people with the lightest stuff manage to find the entrance is one of those things.
Was your issuing to them the coordinates a little dig? Was it a ruse?
It kind of, but to be honest, when you're like the tour manager and you just have to get 15 human beings to somewhere on the face of the earth. So it's a bit of both. Yeah, it's kind of a bit of both. It's like,
look, I can't give you any more precise details than this. This is how they fight wars. This is how they land spaceships.
Basically, because if the call time is 4 o'clock, you can be guaranteed I'm there early. You're at 3:58 or 4:02. Your phone will go mad with everyone calling you and saying the same thing. I've put the postcode in, but I'm by a lamppost and a pub, and I'm pretty sure that's not where I'm meant to be. And You're like, yes, please do this, please do this. And after I think about 9 or 10 years I'd been doing that, it kind of gets to you.
And was there one particular? I hear about this place in Rome. They were 1 hour south of Rome. They should have been 1 hour north of Rome.
That's exactly right. So the truck driver had come with all of the gear from the UK, and he'd driven it across France into Italy.
No problem with that.
Which is great. And But he was the one who said to me, have you got coordinates? And I was like, great, finally someone who's talking my language. I love coordinates people. And then he called me and said, look, I've arrived and started unloading, but it just seems like I'm not really in the right place. And then sort of with a time delay, we kind of number by number read it out and realised he was an hour north of Rome, not an hour south, at which point I was like, you've got to be kidding me. So I think even to people who understand them, it's actually not the easiest thing in everyday life to accurately type in 16 digits without making a mistake. So it's a kind of an important thing about how we did What3words. When Mohan said to me, are we going to put table, chair, spoon next to table, chairs, spoon? I said, absolutely not. We should ideally put them in different countries. So if you make a mistake, you know you've made a mistake. Yeah. You don't show up on the wrong side of the road.
It's called gross error in when you learn to fly.
Okay.
So you can look at your radar and it says you're fine. No mountains for ages, but there's if you look at in front of you, there's a mountain. That's called gross error. There's definitely a mountain.
Yeah,
but it says there isn't. No, but there's a mountain there. Or the sea's on the wrong side or something like that. It literally happens all the time. So something I've written on my garage wall. I write things that help me with life on my garage wall. And the most recent thing I wrote, which was the end of last week, was great ideas don't go anywhere by themselves. Amazing ideas, literally are 10 a penny, if not more. Or less, depending on which way you want to look at it. It's all about the execution. This was a fantastic idea. There's no doubt about it. I'm quite change phobic because I'm getting older, and also just because I'm trying to make my life simpler, not more difficult. And so I'm shedding things as opposed to acquiring new things. And when I heard about What3words, I thought, oh, this is far too complicated for me to take on. And somebody said, no, it's the simplest thing in the world. And then it was so simple, I thought, well, this can't be right. Is that the kind of reaction you get a lot?
Yeah, that is the case. And I think when I had the idea, I assumed that everyone would think it was a really good idea. And I think it was. And it was Mohan's, not mine. But also it's quite a polarizing one. A lot of people, which I wasn't expecting, just went, this seems pretty random. Are you honestly suggesting, Chris, that you're going to get people trying to get their deliveries made to asparagus, cucumber, rhubarb? And are you honestly expecting that people are going to use this in daily life? And you have a couple of moments. Because to me, I thought, absolutely, that seems like the most logical thing ever. And to a lot of people, they think this is just like the craziest thing ever. So I did find out it's quite polarizing. But I thought it was a great idea, and have found enough other people who thought it was a great idea that you can sort of persuade those others. And after a while, it just does become second nature. And now people call up the police or the ambulance service and give these 3 words. And so you can normalize what might sound crazy when you first hear it.
When did you realize it was sticky as an idea, which means a good thing, not a bad thing? So it had some adhesion to it. And then was there a tipping point? And then when did it begin to fly? And where does it have yet to go? Take as long as you like, by the way.
Sure. So I think the first few years, there was a lot of getting people over that hump of this sounds very novel, and a lot of people saying, yeah, but it'll be great once everyone uses it. A classic kind of chicken and egg kind of problem. And just getting those first consumers to give somebody else 3 words, meet me tomorrow at table, chair, spoon. Somebody else has to know about the system. They have to type it into the app. So getting that bit going took a little while. And then I guess one of the big catalysts for us was the Mongolian postal service, which definitely was not the first thing I was kind of imagining would be the catalyst. But I met a Mongolian guy who said, we don't have any addresses really in this country at all. Could you fly over here? So I went. And met people, and it's kind of validated. Met the postal service, and they were having problems with people buying stuff of ASOS in the UK, delivering it to Mongolia, and then writing kind of, I live near the fence behind Khan Bank, and they just couldn't deliver them. So they said, can you make the system work in Mongolian? And I was like, sure. We've done now 3 Mongolian words. We do many languages. And then we did this announcement with them that you could send a piece of mail with just the person's name and the 3 words to Mongolia, and it got delivered. And this massively captured people's imagination, going, wow, that's what can happen when the system really takes off and a country gets behind it. So that was a kind of iconic moment for us. And I get, with Mongolia, you have, you imagine, and it is like that, vast landscapes. I think the least sort of populous country on earth in terms of the area, and it has taken off, and even more recently it's grown and grown there. And then on the other hand, not long afterwards, we had our first integration in a car navigation system. So any Mercedes in the world, you can get in and you can speak the 3 words, and it will take you to that 3 meter square. And I think that one, people were also like, wow, this is a internationally recognized brand with something that we all do. Get in a car, you've got to tell it where you want to go, and then everyone can associate with all those times when you want to go somewhere, a festival entrance or something, and it doesn't take you to the right place. So on one hand you've got Mongolia, on the other hand you've got Mercedes, and somehow the combination of the two of them, I think, got a lot of people going, all right, this system could really take off globally. It's not just a niche crazy idea.
And so was the packaging, was it always going to be an app?
Yeah, I think started off as an app, but the kind of ultimate idea is that we don't even have to have the app, because if you can find your 3 words in something else that you use daily, and then if you want to put the 3 words into something else you use daily, you don't even need to come to our app. So today, the What3words app is a great way to just understand the system and find it out and find your home and click around the squares and find your front door and your back door. But ultimately, it's just meant to be a system that everybody else has in theirs.
So we had the guy who came up with Wikipedia on the show. Obviously, one of the greatest ideas of recent times. Since then, in other things that he's done, he's had varying degrees of success, but nothing like Wikipedia. And Wikipedia, we all know, is for free. It's a charity or whatever it is. The point is, he doesn't make any money out of it. When you get an idea like this, how do you protect it? What's the best way to monetize it? How much do you want to monetize it? Because I know that, I can tell from the way you are, you're not a money-minded person. I can just get that sense from you. I think that you are interested in making a living out of it, but I don't think you're money first, because I can smell it on you, literally.
Well, so I think the way to make money out of What3words is to actually make it the same way that you make it out of the rest of addresses. And people don't know that when you load up some ride-hailing app on your phone and you type in number 2 Regent Street, those apps actually have to pay to turn to Regent Street into the coordinates, which then displays it on the map. And so addresses are actually monetized today, as is the postcode system. The postcode system makes tens of millions a year, I think, for Royal Mail. So we monetize it in exactly the same way that other things are monetized, but the app still remains free for everybody, and we don't charge the emergency services. So it feels like a really good model where you can still grow massively in popularity, but you can still, as you say, make a living out of it, because there are so many businesses that need to resolve addresses into map locations.
So is this your Pixar? Is this going to be your life's work, or do you get to move on to something else?
This is definitely my life's work. I feel I was always predisposed to make a code of some kind. And then looking back, I was thinking, even in my days in the music business, I was always, we had these sort of talkback microphones, and I was always saying to these bands, if you're happy, can you pluck this string on your violin? And if you're not happy with the mix, can you pluck this other string? And I was kind of thinking, maybe I'm just someone who likes codes and likes making codes and was always going to make a code. And now I've made this code, which has kind of gone global. So yeah, I do think this is my life's work. And yeah, this is the one.
So you're 41 now, ish?
Yeah, ish.
Okay, so you were 31-ish when you had this idea back in 2013 with your mates. One mate, 2 mates?
2 mates, yeah.
So there are 3 of you?
Yeah, exactly. Where
are you in the world, you 3?
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, two in London and 1 in Cambridge.
No, but where are you if we put you together?
In terms of
your 3 words.
Oh, I see. So yeah, you'll find us at Filled Count Soap, which is our 3 meter square just near Paddington, and that's our office location. In fact, if you were to use the postcode to find our office, you'll actually find it'll take you to the A40 flyover, which you definitely don't want to be on. So we are in an office which is very hard to find unless you use What3words together.
Okay, sorry, I interrupted you. You were in the middle of saying something else.
No, I was just going to say, so yeah, my third co-founder, Jack, who is the language specialist, he was the kind of final piece of the puzzle. And he's actually, he's a quiz show writer as well. He was when we started this whole thing off. And so I just knew that he loved the quirkiness of the idea. And so when I pitched it to him, he was an instant, I'm in. So effectively it was the maths guy, the language guy, and the music guy, which I guess is me, and somehow the 3 of us.
So
got it
it
together.
first came to prominence and usefulness as an app, but it's about the application, isn't it? It's about the application because it's so simple as an idea. It's. Is there a more simple, more effective idea ever? In the last 100 years, I can't think of one. I mean, you might be able to think of one. You might have had those discussions with your mates.
That's a very kind compliment. It's. I mean, I love it still to this day. Just the elegance of your idea that
elegance. It's elegant, isn't it?
That 3 words is just easier than 16 numbers or an alphanumeric code or whatever else it could have been to express any 3 meter square on the surface of the earth. I get out of bed every day.
You closed your eyes
it.
when you said it. You're talking about a loved one. He closed his eyes. He went, I love it. I love it. When the lead singer is really into the song still. They sing from their heart and not. You speak from your heart. I can tell. You talk with a smile. You have that permanent Brian Cox kind of smile.
Thank you.
Thing going on, which is great.
But it is good to love your idea that much, and wherever we show up in the world, and evangelize about it. And in many countries, it's not yet as famous as we are in the UK.
Right.
The other day I was in Vietnam, and you stand up, and you've still got to talk about 3 Vietnamese words to an audience who, just like us in the early days, are looking at you a bit like, is this a bit mad?
And are you pitching, or are you just explaining when you go on these tours?
You're pitching as well. So we want to get into more car navigation systems, more delivery companies, more emergency services, more governments. So we are pitching for them to join up. And you have to take them over that journey of it's not just a crazy idea, but this has got utility.
And because you're pitching a good idea, you're not so much selling it. You are selling it, I suppose, but it's hot and it's good and it's got a proven track record now. So you bring all that to the leverage table with you. What have you learned about negotiation?
I think, look, What3words is a one of a kind, so it's very different. We don't really have...
Go find another.
Yeah, exactly. They're not many competitors. So it's more like, do you want to jump on the train with us? Do you want to be part of it? Do you want to integrate in what you're doing? Yes or no? And even if people say no, we just go back 6 months later. So it's a game of persistence and determination and just bringing people on board one by one across the world.
And so... when you're enthusiastic and emotional about an idea and you come from the music industry, even though you're not on stage, you are tour managing and things like that. So there's a bit more logic going on. There's a bit more, you're a bit more removed from the impulsiveness of emotion, but you've just said you're impulsive anyway, which is great, which is why you got so excited about it, why the mathematician was like, what's the big deal? You go, I have no idea what the big deal is. This is the best idea ever. If you go in negotiation with, say, Mercedes, who are pitched ideas all the time, and you want them to come on board, or you want a new country to fall in love with your idea, because you're clearly still genuinely in love with your idea of What3words, it even sounds nice, doesn't it? It even looks good on paper. It's all the stars are lined up for What3words. You can sometimes, I've done this, this is total projection actually, but I sense you've cut from the same cloth. I just want people to jump on board so much, I almost give it away. Where are you with that when you're with people whose job it is to be unemotional about things? Say, this is great, this is useful for us, and then it's in their interest to get it for as little as possible or nothing. Have you sold yourself short at all? Any lessons that you've learned that people can benefit from listening to this show now?
So I think we found a good way of making it free to those where it's really important. So the emergency services, police, fire, ambulance, the Coast Guard. Have it for free on us, wherever you are in the world. But also what we get is a huge amount of publicity from that. And in fact, in the UK, a big national marketing drive, we went one by one. There's about 120-ish of those services across the UK from Suffolk to Norfolk, and you go to the next one. And they all slowly got on board with them promoting it to their communities, saying, people think that 999 can definitely track your phone. It's actually not that straightforward at all, and you should have this app. And it just going around the country like that was an amazing publicity boost for us, but we give them the tech for free. And that works incredibly well as just a nice deal, whereas Mercedes, who are used to paying for maps, navigation, addresses, they're happy to keep paying for it. So you just got to find a way, I think, of going, look, if we are going to do things for free, what's the right group to do that for? Yeah. In our case, that was emergency services.
I get that, but Mercedes is the big boys, right? And girls, and they're really good at this stuff. So how do you, as a bit of a David to their Goliath, go to that negotiation table?
So you go and say, do you want to be first in your sector to have this in your cars? And people will pay to be first, to be innovative, and to have an exclusive feature. And if you think What3words is a good idea, then it's worth parting with money to be the first company to adopt it in your sector.
How do you come up with? How do you price a thing like this without getting into the details?
That is a fair question. I guess you sort of start backwards and go, well, if we're in all the cars in the world, then what's the sort of sensible price to make this all financially viable? And then you go backwards and actually go, well, per car in the world, you kind of want everyone to look at it and go, that's cheap. And so anyone who looks at our pricing, generally the first thing they'll say is, wow, that's cheap.
And do you have a set price? Or
we do in slightly different sectors, but basically it's a set price. And ideally you want everybody in every country to go, fine, I can afford it, I'll integrate it, and on we go with the next.
And how do you protect it?
Protect it is done with patents and things like that for intellectual property protection, so people can't replicate the idea. But also just being first is by far the best protection that you can hope for. Being first, being integrated into everything. If someone else was to come along with 3words, aside from all our patent protection, I can say it takes years and years to get all of those integrations.
Yeah, now your algorithm's are way ahead of everybody else's.
Yes, it's 60 languages, all the voice recognition. There's a lot there to make What3words work as simply and seamlessly as it does.
And also, you've had all the intel from everything that happens every day, and it gets better and better and better and better and better.
Exactly, yeah.
Bob says, how come you didn't make your HQ for What3words, What3words?
Great question. Well, for one, we try as hard as we can to remove homophones out of our dictionary, so words that are spelled differently but sound the same. So words like here, that you could spell H-E-R-E or H-E-A-R. So what, W-H-A-T, is also pronounced as the unit of power.
Yeah.
So what's not even a word in the What3words dictionary. So
if there's a third, you could have what?
Yeah, you can have repeated words. Table will be somewhere, like, I don't know, a tree in Finland or something. But either way, yes, and we've moved office a few times. So yes, we didn't design anything especially.
Right. Some more questions here. Honestly, people are fascinated. We had Arnold Schwarzenegger on a couple of weeks ago. He didn't get as many texts as you've got. By the way, we're glad to have him, and he's welcome back anytime. Morning, Chris. How does What3words work in a high-rise building? Says Stephen Somerset.
Yeah, good question. So at the moment, it's just a 2D system, just like latitude and longitude. We just want to get people to the entrance of where they want to go. And then you still got to say flat number 53, because smartphones don't work well indoors either.
Okay, James says, as a paramedic, until you've tried to find a person with a broken leg in the middle of nowhere, you'll never understand the power of What3words. This has saved lives. How many lives?
A lot. I think so. Thousands at this stage, yeah.
Good for you, mate. And in Fairham, What3words, we used to find my friends on their narrowboat on the canal in the middle of the country when we visit. It's so good, isn't it?
The use case is mind-blowing, but sometimes it's the most bizarre ones. So, I mean, my mum, she lives on a farm. She asked me to report some fly tipping the other day. So I want to put a sofa on her field, which she's very angry about. So I went on to North Herts District Council fly tipping page, which I was happy there was one. And on it, it said, can you input the What3words of where this fly tipping has taken place? And I was beyond like the emotional.
Yes,
kind
I
of,
can. If only you knew.
Exactly. And my mum, who's 87, who'd managed to work the app out, was in the field. WhatsApp to me was an accomplishment in itself, and just the kind of the circularity of it all just was a powerful moment.
Good for you. Good for you, my friend. So cool, isn't it? I mean, and was this a world that you knew about, the apps world before, and algorithms and patents and digital security?
Not at all. So I'm just a bassoonist who. So I was a musician who unfortunately had a bad accident in my wrist. So instead of playing, because two of my fingers don't work, I went into to music management and just did a lot of gigs for 10 years. So when we started this whole thing, the notion of making an app was new to me. I mean, I kind of played around with computer code as a kid, but not in any serious way. So I just decided that day, as I said, it was kind of done in 5 minutes, but I just went, I'm the person to make this happen, and here we are.
Well, none of us would wish, I hope none of us would wish an accident upon anybody, but that wasn't the worst accident you had.
Yeah, I mean, in retrospectively, it was an amazing accident to have because
don't recommend it, but
because it's taken my life on a completely different journey. I mean, to be honest, I actually punched through a window while sleepwalking, which I also wouldn't recommend to anyone. And having studied music for 15 years, it's a little bit depressing to be able to not play an instrument. But you know, you just gotta keep going.
Okay, loads of people saying thank you because they've been in accidents, and they've Lucy in Somerset speaks for many. I was recently first on the scene of an accident in the middle of nowhere, and What3words got the emergency services to us much quicker. So thank you.
Amazing.
And loads of texts. Right, before you go, and we are way over time here, but you're an amazing guest. You seem like a lovely human being. Before we go, we've got to clean up this mystery once and for all. Who was one of your foundational investing angels? Was it Louis Spence, says Vassos Alexander?
See, I played in, this is your idea, great idea. This is a bad idea, a pro celebrity rugby match. There was me, Harry Judd and Louis Spence and 12 professional rugby players on each team. And I remember Louis Spence telling me on the bus on the way to training one day that he invest, because he lives sort of in the middle of nowhere, and he heard about your idea and he was one of the early investors. But I may have got muddled.
I don't know Louis Spence or who he is. So, but Harry Judd was one of our founding investors who, and he's a drummer. You know, he can't find his way to the back of his gigs. So
that's what it is.
It was
Means
Harry
must.
Judd.
Yeah. So he was an investor.
Yeah.
So you went and raised some finance.
Yeah, we had to get started.
How did you do that? That's interesting. I want to talk to you all morning.
Well, because basically I just told people what we were doing, and they
Mates
said,
or...
"Can we?" No, I mean just people, or friends of friends, and people were just saying, "Can we invest?" Because I think, as you said, the idea just sticks to people. And don't get me wrong, there's a bunch of people who went, "You're completely loony and you should go back to music." But Harry's one of the ones who just sat there and went, "This is awesome. How can I get in?" And yeah.
So did you have an idea of how much money you'd need for investment for development, or did you just ask for some money and thought, "We've got this, what should we do with it?" Bit of both?
A bit of both. I thought we'd need £50,000, which, and I was completely deluded because in the music business that was a lot of money, and actually in the real world, to get something like What3words known throughout the world, you do need millions. But my naivety also helped get us going, because you know, you've got to have a bit of blind ambition.
And are you IPO now? Are you available?
Not at that stage just yet, but hopefully over the next few years. Yeah.
You're going to be.
Yeah, we'd love to.
What would you estimate your company's worth now?
Not quite sure as of the moment.
In the hundreds, or?
I think we are looking to be a massive global exit once we can get worldwide status like we are in the UK.
Anything else you'd like to say before you go?
No, but please do download the What3words app, have it on your phone.
And it's free.
Oh, yeah, it's free app. And
so good,
definitely worth doing. Find your front door. Yeah.
What, Carfest? Yeah. Last summer?
No, we've had loads of people.
Yeah, I mean, in order to get to the entrance that you need to get to.
You should add the 3-word addresses for all your entrances for Carfest.
They did do. And that's how we knew. Yeah.
We've had amazing. Loads of text about it. You're awesome, mate. You did not disappoint.
Thanks very much, Chris.
Thank you. Good luck to you and your team. I wish you all the very, very best.
Pleasure. Total pleasure.
Awesome. We got to go. That's been a lovely show, hasn't it, for a Monday?